basic electrical science lab, we do need only these two components and these equipments we require. Okay. So now we will move on to our hardware parts. I will show you that what are the hardwares, how they look, what are their functions and other things. So students, this is our multimeter. It is of scientific company, you can see here. Its name is there. Okay, and this is its model number SM7024. You could buy some multimeters of other companies also. Now just look at here. Here it is a power button here. A whole button is also there. Here there is a slot for checking the transistors. Here it is given for NPN, and here it is a slot for solar charging. Okay, a sunlight like notation label is present here. Now if you will view the other parts of this multimeter, you will find there are many labels present here, like HFE, 2 megahertz, 2000 microfarad is also there. There is a sign of diode and there is a sign of connectivity. It looks like Wi-Fi, sign of Wi-Fi, but it is of connectivity. 200 ohm, 2 kilo ohm, 20 kilo ohm. So other labels are also there. Now what actually these labels are for and why do we use multimeter? A multimeter is that type of device which can be used for measuring voltages. It can act as voltmeter. It is also used to measure current. That means it can also act as an ammeter. Multimeter we can use for measuring the resistance. We can use it for measuring the voltages of diodes. We can also measure the connectivity of any circuit, that whether the connection is drawn or not. Okay, whether the connection is closed or open or not. This is the sign for that thing. Here it is a knob. Okay, it rotates. So what happens whenever you want to check any of the datas or any of the values of resistance or of capacitance or other things, then what you have to do, you have to rotate this knob to that particular source, to that particular quantity. For example, here I have rotated my knob to 2 kilo ohm, so it will measure the resistance up to 2 kilo ohm. I am going to switch on this multimeter. Just see it. Here it is showing 0 L. That means overloaded. Since the multimeter ends are open right now, these are the multimeter ends. These two are the wires of the multimeter. Okay, the red one is the positive one and the black one is the negative one. Now what happens if there is a resistance, okay, whose value is more than 2 kilo ohm? Then what we will do, we will just slide it by one more quantity, one more step, and now it is showing, it is pointing towards 20 kilo ohm level. That means that now this multimeter is capable of measuring 20 kilo ohm resistance. If my resistance value is more than that thing, it will show OL again. Now also it is showing OL because my multimeter ends are open. Okay, so there is infinite resistance between these 2 points because air is present there. That's why it is showing currently overloaded. The OL is for overloaded. I will show you that how to measure that resistance value practically in this lab session also later. Okay, when we will draw circuits in breadboard. Now here you can check the other things are also present there. For example, this megahertz value, this value is for measuring the frequency. Okay, when we will place our knob to 2 megahertz, then what will happen? The multimeter will be capable of measuring a frequency of 2 megahertz. Similarly, 200 microammeter reading is there, 2 milliampere reading is also there. So whenever, now just look at here there is 20 ampere label is also present here, 200 milliampere, 20 milliampere. Now here you can see from this to this part, here there are voltages levels. Okay, the level of voltage are there. Now here after V, a sign of AC signal is present there. So that means that from this level up to this level, this multimeter would measure the voltage's value of 200 millivolt up to 200 volt. Okay, it will measure 200 millivolt to 200 volt of AC source. Okay, now afterwards you could see here that there are levels of voltages also, but here a V DC sign is there. The sign is of DC signal. Okay, so when my knob would be present at this part, okay, it would measure, this multimeter would measure the DC voltage. Understood? Now, how to make the connections for the multimeter wire? If you will look the slot for this wire, just look at this point, you would find there are 4 slots. Okay, under the first slot it is written here V for voltage, ohm is for resistance, the capacitor sign is also there. There is a sign of diode, and here it is a sign of connectivity. It looks like Wi-Fi. The second word node is of my COM. That means it is common port and it is to be earthed. Or we are going to use this port for negative signal. Now the third one is for milliampere port, and the last one is 20 ampere port. Now what does these labels means? The first label means that when my red one wire is inserted in my first of the port, and the negative one is inserted in the second port, then my multimeter would measure voltage, resistance, capacitance, diode values, and connectivity. It can check. So multimeter acts as voltmeter. It can check resistance, etc. when I am going to use these two these two wires in these two slot of multimeter. Now if I remove this red one wire and if I put it here on the left hand side of this black wire, then just see it underward it is written milliampere. So milliampere means now my multimeter is going to be act as an ammeter. Okay, and since MA is very small, that means that my multimeter is now capable to read very small current values. Now if I am going to remove this slot and if I am going to insert it in the last one, then my multimeter is now capable to record or to check the values of very high current also, up to 20 ampere current it can measure. So when we need to check the value of current, then we will put our red wire, that is our positive wire, in either MA or 20A. And when we are going to check the voltage or resistance or capacitor values, for these values I am going to fix this red one wire in the first slot. Okay, I am going to check now the other equipments also. So dear student, this is my second equipment. The name of this equipment is DC power source. So this one is a multiple power source. It can give 3 different simultaneous output at a time. This is my power button for this DC power source. If you look on, you can check their I value and V values are written. So for every output level, for every output port, there is a setting for changing the value of I and V. For example, this button is for giving the output of these 2 ports. This red one will give the positive source and this negative one, this black one would give a negative source. Similarly, these 2 are the second output ports. The voltage and the current is controlled by these 2 slots for this output source. For the third one, I am having a black output port, a red output port, and also a blue output port. Now, this red one is for positive, this black one is for negative, but this blue one is for earthing. Okay, so if we need to connect to give a supply of earth, we will use this port. Okay, now there are many buttons situated on the top of this DC power source. What happens? This is a display of this DC power source. When this first button is pressed, this display would show me the output which is generated by the first output ports. Okay, first 2 output ports. These 2 first output ports are connected internally to provide a single source. This positive one would provide this red one would provide a positive source and this black one would provide a negative source. Similarly, when I am going to press this second button, it will show me the output which is given by these 2 ports. I am going to just switch it on to make you show that how actually it works. For example, at this time, this first button is pressed. Now it is showing the output which is generated by these 2 ports. Okay, so if I am going to change the value of voltage, just see here, I am going to rotate it here. This value is gradually increasing. Now for changing the I, remember, since there is no load connected by these 2 output source, so the I will not increase or decrease in this case, since there is no load present here. Now just look at here, there is in above of this button, there is also a button. This button is used for coarse changing of the voltage, and this lowermost button is for fine changing. Now what does it means, the coarse and what this fine change means? The coarse button will increase the voltage very rapidly. Okay, just look at this, it is increasing voltage at a very fast pace, and this other one, this fine button, would increase it with very small step size. Understood? So this is for the first 2 ports. Now moving on to the second one, I am going to press this button. Okay, when I press this button, just check it, it is showing 4.8 volt and 0 ampere here, because the second one output ports are giving the voltages of 4.8 volt. If I want, I can decrease the voltage here. Okay, so similarly for the last 3 ports, I am going to press this button, the third one button. It is showing currently that what is the output which is given by these 3 ports. I could increase V here. Okay. Now remember students, all of these output ports work simultaneously. When I am going to press this one, that doesn't mean that this output ports are not giving any output. If I am going to press this A1, at that time also this B. So since I have pressed on this button, that doesn't mean that only these two output ports are only giving output. Others are also giving the output simultaneously. Okay, just check it by clicking on this one. I press the second one, it is currently giving 4.5 volt. So these buttons are only for display purpose of this power source. Okay, but the outputs, all the 3 outputs are giving their power source. Now here is the last button. Here you can see it is written plus 15 volt and minus 15 volts is also written in the below portion. So when we need to give negative voltage, okay, when we need to give negative voltage, we are going to press on this button. Okay, when you will press this button, what you will see that the output, all these 3 output from 2 output, this black one and this blue one, we will start to give the negative output. For the negative output, we will connect this black output source as positive one and this earth as negative one. At that time, these two would give the negative output. So this is the last button used. So now how to connect these things in our circuit? Just see here, this is a crocodile wire. Okay, it looks like this. These are 2 ends of this crocodile wire. So this port we are going to insert in the output one, and the other one, the crocodile pin 1 portion, we will connect a wire and we will insert it in the breadboard to complete the circuits. Okay, I am going to explain you that thing later in this video. Now I am going to explain you our next equipment. So firstly, I am going to just decrease my voltage, okay, to the shortest portion. It is done. Just check it here. I am going to decrease it virtually. Now there is one thing more which I want to tell you. The first 2 output would give a maximum of 30 volt and 2 ampere current. Here it is written in the label here. If you could see here it is written 30 volt 2 ampere. In the second one it is written 5 volt 5 ampere. And the third one it is written plus minus 15 volt 1 ampere. So when we need to give more voltage, we are going to use the first one, this first output source. When we need to give more voltage, voltage of approximate, when we need to give more amount of current, then at that time we will use the second output source. And when we need to give the negative voltage source or earth, we are going to use the third output port. So now I will move on to the next equipment. So this is my third equipment. The name of the equipment is function generator. Now what does this function generator means? It means that it is used for generation of some function. Now functions here means wave of some kind, for example sine wave, cos wave, okay, and different other waves are also there. It can also generate a pulse wave. So the basic use of function generator is that it is going to generate some functional waves, some periodical waves. Okay. Now, it is also used to generate digital signals. Since sine wave and other waves are present also, so it can be also used for generation of AC signals. Okay, since these sine waves are the basic AC signals. So if you will just look on the buttons of this function generator, here you can see ARB, mod, sweep, burst, waveform, frequency rate, EMPL, DC offset, and etc. Here it is a power button. Here I am going to switch on my function generator. The company is GW Instech, and here it is a dual channel function generator. What does dual channel mean? Single channel means one output port, dual channel means two output port. So you can see here I have two wires there, both for two different simultaneous outputs. Okay. Now here you can see, okay, बहुत ज़्यादा लाइट कर रहा है. So here check it. For two different channels, we are having two different channels display here. The lower one is for first channel and the upper one is for the other channel. Okay. Now, if we want to get an output from the above channel, what we will do? Firstly, we will choose the waveform, that which type of waveform we need. So here is there is a button for waveform. You will click on this thing. I can see that many different types of waveforms are shown there at the bottom end: sine wave, square wave, triangular wave, pulse wave, ramp wave, noise. So there are buttons also at the bottom of the display, which is used for selecting a type of signal. For example, I press this one button, this F1 button. Now what will happen? My sine wave signal would be choose. So when we need to take an output from the channel which is at the lower end, what we will do? Firstly, for generation of any kind of wave, we will firstly select our waveform. Okay, so here you can see, here it is a button of waveform present here. Okay, here it is a gray button of waveform. Just click on it. When you will click on this button, you will find out that at the bottom of the display, many different types of wave options are present there: sine, square, triangular, pulse, ramp, noise. And below the display, you will find that many selection buttons are present here. Okay, so these selection buttons are for selecting the type of wave. For example, if I do need to give a sine wave, I would select this one. So now sine wave is selected. Just see here, sine wave is there. Okay, now after selecting the type of waveform, we do need to give the waveform some values. For example, frequencies, amplitude. If DC offset is there, then we can also give it. Okay. Now for giving the frequency rate, here it is a button of frequency, and you will click on this thing. Check it here. This frequency label is related by red color. So now these numerical buttons are there, and this rotator is also there. So by the help of both of these things, you can manually change the frequency. For example, I am going to select a 100 Hz wave. So I am going to press here 100 manually by the help of keypad buttons. Now when I have pressed 100, just check at the bottom here. you will find many options there. That it is mu hertz, that is microhertz, millihertz, hertz, kilohertz, megahertz. These options are there. So we need to select which option we need. For example, 100 is there. 100 could be 100 millihertz, 100 microhertz, 100 hertz, 100 kilohertz. Anything it could be. So if we need 100 hertz, then I am going to select this F4 button in order to get the frequency of 100 hertz. Now just check it here. Frequency is 100 hertz. Simply for changing the amplitude, click on the AMPL button here, and here we are getting many different kinds of units for the voltage. Okay, the first one is for dB, the second one is for millivolt RMS, volt RMS, millivolt peak to peak, volt peak to peak. So there are many options. So we could directly select any of the option whichever we need, and we will manually also change the value of amplitude. Okay, so by doing these kind of things, we will select a wave, and for generation purpose, just check it here. There is a button above this channel output wire. This button, when we will press this function generator, it starts to give out the output. If we haven't pressed this button, the signal which we have generated is present in the function generator, but the function generator will not give it as the output. When we will press this button, then only it will give us the output. There is one more button, channel 1/channel 2. It is used to switch between these two channels. Okay. For example, if we need to give the channels, both channels as an output, if we are using, then what we will do, we will just press this channel 1/channel 2, and in this other channel also we will select the wave which we need, and then for the second output wire also we will just switch on this button. When we switch on this button, it will glow, and this glowing means that currently it is giving the output. Here you can find out that there is a pulse output knob is also there, and here you can find out that there is a USB port in which you can insert your USB, that is your pen drive or any other thing, to get the output of the wave in your pen drive. So now one thing more, this wire of the multimeter, the wire of this function generator is called probe wire. Okay, it is also having one end as crocodile wire, and the other one end, this end is called BNC connector. The other end is called BNC connector, and this end is the crocodile, and the whole wire is called probe wire. So basically, in this basic electrical lab, we are going to use it for generation of AC signal, sine wave, cos waves, or some other kind of waves we will generate. It will also help us to generate digital signals in order to complete our experiment. So this is our function generator. Now we will move on to our next equipment, that is our DSO. So this is our next equipment. Its name is DSO. The full form of DSO is Digital Storage Oscilloscope. Previously, analog oscilloscope were there. Now, new versions of those oscilloscope came, and its name changed to Digital Storage Oscilloscope. Okay, so it is of Siglent company. It can measure up to maximum of 200 megahertz wave. Now, what is the actual use of this DSO? This DSO is for checking, for characterizing, for evaluating the waves. Just as in function generator, we have generated the wave. Now, if you need to check the wave, Okay, and if you need to check the output of any circuit, that what kind of wave it is going to generate, what are the frequencies and other different values of those waves, for those purpose what we do, we use our DSO. This is the main display of the DSO. It is LCD one. Now just check it here. It is a 4-channel DSO. Okay, that means at a time it can accept 4 different outputs. Okay, at a time it can accept 4 different output, and at a time it can show us 4 different wave, and it will show their values, characters and other data also. Here we have many buttons. These buttons are for setting the wave such that it seems good and lucid on this display. Okay, so here you can see many buttons are there. The first button above it is written S arrow NS, that means second to nanosecond. So just check it here. There are many buttons which are present in the right hand side of the display. So the basic functions of these buttons are to adjust the wave so that it could come to our screen finally. Okay, just see here, above this button it is written S arrow NS. That means this will increase or decrease the time section base of the wave. That means the time division of the wave. Okay, there are many other buttons. Intensity adjust, it is used to adjust the intensity of the wave. Cursor, measure buttons are also there. So these buttons are for measuring the values of the waves. And similarly many other buttons are there. Auto setup is there, run stop is there. Auto setup is for automatically setting up the waves. Okay, we do not need to manually change the wave time division or voltage time division. This button will automatically set it up. The default button is for making this device to its default condition. So trigger button is also there. Save recall button is also there to save any output, and recall button will recall it, the waves. Now at the lower end, just see here, at the lower ends you can see there are many different other buttons also. So each of this whole button is used to change the voltage division. Okay, for example this one was for changing the time division of all of the waves, but this portion, this 4 of the buttons are for changing the voltage divisions of each channel. And here there is also one knob, okay, which is used to change the positions of the waves. I am going to turn on this function generator. Just see here at the lower end, at its lower end there is a power on button. Firstly I am going to switch on the power source, and afterwards I am going to switch it on. So at this bottom end, so at the bottom end there is the switch button. Okay, so firstly I am going to switch on my DSO by my power socket, and then after I am going to switch on my DSO. So just look at it. Here in the DSO, only 2 lights are glowing, 1 and 2. The reason is that I have connected the output wires in only two of the channels, channel 1 and channel 2. Since I have connected in only two of the outputs, that's why only channel 1 and channel 2 is glowing. If I want, I can manually switch on channel 3 and channel 4. Okay, so all the 4 waves would be shown by 4 different colors. Okay, the color is present here only. The first one is here you can see a very small yellow color is present there. Similarly, at the second one, a pink color is there. So, my first channel output would be shown by a yellow color, second would be shown by a pink color. Similarly, other colors are there for the two different other channels. So, by the help of measure cursor buttons, we can measure the simple values of the wave by the help of DSO. Now, for demonstration, I am going to generate a simple wave from my function generator, and I will connect the output of my function generator as an input to my DSO, and you will see that what is the output in the DSO. So, this is my channel 1. I am going to select the waveform as sine wave here, a simple kind of wave. Frequency, I am going to take 1 kilohertz here, and for amplitude I am going to take 5 volt peak to peak. Now, so firstly I am going to connect the positive end of the DSO to the positive end of my function generator, and the negative end of my DSO to the negative end of the function generator by this probe wire. Now I am going to switch on my output. So just check it here, some kind of wave are coming. Since other channel are also on, that's why the other channel's wave is also seen there. Since the output is not connected to channel 2, 3, 4, so simply lines are there. So I am going to manually switch on my second, third and fourth channel DSO. Now just look here, the wave is not completely shown by my display. So I could either click on this auto setup, or I could manually change my step division of voltage and time so that the full of the wave could come to my screen. So I am going to do it manually. So I am going to increase my voltage division. Just see here, now I am getting a perfect sine wave. If I am going to increase the time division or decrease the time division, just see here what happens. This I have increased my time division, and if I am going to decrease my time division, so the time basis will decrease. Now for stopping the wave so that we could measure it, I am going to click on this run stop button. Okay, now for measuring of this wave, I am going to click on this measure button, and you will see the values of this wave are shown here. For example, peak to peak voltages, maximum voltage, frequency rate, fault, delay if it is there, all these kind of data are shown in the DSO. So this is our DSO session. Now we will move on to the breadboard one. So finally, this is our last equipment. It is called breadboard. It is called breadboard because these boards have many pores, just like that of bread. This breadboard is used for making the circuit connections. In every experiment, we will use our breadboard for making the connections. Okay. Now you can see here that in the above one, here it is a blue line, below of which there is a red line again, and at the bottom part of this breadboard also you will find a blue line and red line is there. The blue line is denoted by a negative sign here, and the red one is for positive. Here also the blue one is for negative and red one is for positive, and there are many ports. So actually, how does this breadboard works? You do need to understand this thing. Just look at this final line. All the ports are internally shorted. Okay, all the ports internally are shorted. There is an aluminum or copper wire, okay, which is banded. When we will insert any component here, it will get in touch with that wire and the connection would be made by the breadboard with that component. Similarly, if this red one, just look at the ports just below the blue line. All of those ports are also internally shorted. Okay, so the first one, all those horizontal ports are shorted internally. Above this one also, the ports which are below the blue line, those are also shorted internally fully. But there is no connection between this first one line and second one line ports. Okay, but internally the whole of the horizontal line is shorted. Now this is the similar case with the above one. Okay, all of the first horizontal line ports are internally shorted, and in the second line also all the internal ports, all the ports are shorted. Now there are many kind of breadboard in which only half of the horizontal line is shorted. Okay, since in this breadboard full line is internally shorted, there are many other breadboards where only half of the line is shorted. Now we are going to move on our center part. Just look here. Here these ports, these vertical ports are shorted. Okay, for example, the ports which is starting from here, that is denoted by an alphabet A. Okay, this port A, B, C, D, E, the first one of all these are shorted internally. Okay, similarly the second one of this A, second one of B, second one of C, second one of D, second one of E is shorted internally. But there is no connection between this first vertical line and second vertical line. Okay, but internally the whole line is shorted, but there is no connection between both of the adjacent line, neither externally nor internally. Similar is the case with the above one also. Whole of the first line is internally shorted, whole of the second line is internally shorted, whole of the third line is internally shorted. Now this short point is from A to E and from F to J. A to J is not internally shorted. Okay, only A to E is internally shorted and F to J is internally shorted. Remember this thing. Here you can see, here is a border there. Okay, so there is no connection here. So this is the actual connection of this breadboard internally. So when we are going to do any connection, we do need to remember that how the internal connection of breadboard is present. Okay, so now I am going to move on our component part. In the component also I will connect resistors or capacitor in the breadboard. I will tell you how to connect it and then how to make a simple connection there. Okay, so dear students, this is our first component. This is our resistance. Okay, so now when you need to connect these components in the breadboard, firstly what you have to do, you need to firstly bend the wires, end wires in points of the resistance so that it could directly insert in the breadboard. So just check it. I have tilted the ends of the wire. Now I am going to insert it in the breadboard port. So just check it. I have inserted it properly in the breadboard. So students, just look at the color coding of this resistance. If you look, you'll find out that the first color layer is of brown color, the second one is of black color, the third one is of red color, and the fourth one is of golden color. This means that this is a 4-color layer resistance or 4-layer resistance. Okay, here for checking the value of the resistance, that what is actually the value of the resistance, we could match these color coding with the help of the resistance code color code table. Okay, by the help of BB-ROY, okay, or some other there is another trick to remember that thing, you could employ that also, and by help of that thing just check it out that what is the actual value of this resistance. Now if you are going to match the color, okay, the first one is brown. Okay, so since this is 4-layer, that means the first 2 colors would resemble for first 2 digits, the third one would be the multiplier, and the last one would be tolerance. So my first one is brown. That means that so this first brown color would give us a reading of 1. The next one is black one, that would give a value of 0. The third one, that is the multiplier one, that is of red color, so that would means 10 to the power 2. So 1, 0 and 10 to the power 2, that means 10 to the power 3. So it is of 1 kilo ohm resistance. The last one is of golden color band is there, so that is of tolerance of 5%. So that means that this resistance theoretical value is 1 kilo ohm plus minus 5%, and the 5% is due to tolerance. So if you will find out the 5% of 1 kilo ohm, you would find it of 50 ohm value. That means that the range, practical range of this resistance would lie anywhere from 950 ohm to 1050 ohm. So now I am going to measure it by help of my multimeter. So this is my multimeter. I am placing it right here, and I haven't switched on my multimeter. Okay, now firstly I am going to just connect the negative and positive end of my multimeter to the resistance end. Okay, I am going to short my multimeter ends with this resistance end. So I have shorted it. Okay, that means I have connected. Shorting means here that the vertical pores, okay, in which my resistance are connected, okay, in the same vertical line I am going to connect the multimeter end. For example, the vertical line in which my this resistance end is connected, in the same vertical line I have connected the negative end of the multimeter, and the vertical line in which this end of my resistance is connected, I have connected the positive end of my multimeter. Now I would just again recheck my connection, that way whether it is perfectly fitted or not. Now afterwards I am going to switch on my multimeter. I am going to press the power button. Just see here. Okay, currently this knob is in front of the hertz one, so currently it is not showing any value since it is a resistance. Now I am going to increase it. 1, 2, 3. Now I have put my knob to 200 ohm resistance. Okay. Now since theoretically I know the value of this resistance is around approx 1 kilo ohm, that's why here my multimeter is showing overloaded. Now what I will do, I will increase it once more so that my knob would come in front of this 2 kilo ohm. When I will do this thing, this multimeter would be capable to measure a resistance up to 2 kilo ohm. So just see here, the value it is showing is 0.9902 kilo ohm. That means 990.2 ohm resistance is the value of this resistor. So like this we can check the resistance by the help of theoretical one also, by the help of resistance color code, and by the help of multimeter also. Now we will move on to the capacitor part. So students, this is our capacitor. Okay, just look at it here. It has one large end and one other small end. Just if I am going to zoom it here, you will find out that there is one large end and one small end there. Okay, so the bigger end is showing the positive end of this capacitor and the smaller end is showing the negative end of the capacitor. This capacitor value is written on the capacitors only. Just look here, I am going to show you. This is a 10 microfarad capacitor. Just look here, it is written here 10 microfarad. Okay, so 10 microfarad is written here, so its value is 10 microfarad. Some other capacitors are also there which is of very small size, means that their value is very low. Okay, these capacitors are made up of ceramics one. So if we need to measure the values of these capacitors, since the capacitance value is not written here, we would again use our multimeter to measure the value. So I am going to firstly insert it in my breadboard and I am going to show you the capacitance value of these capacitor. So firstly I am going to turn the ends of the capacitor and then I am going to fit it in my breadboard. These small capacitors have no negative or positive end, so we could directly connect multimeter ends to any one end of the capacitor. For example, this one I am connected it to the positive end of the multimeter and this one side to the negative end of my multimeter. We are connecting it same as we have connected our resistance. So now I am going to show you the readings of the multimeter. So just check it. This is my multimeter and I am going to show you the readings. Just check it here. The value is gradually increasing. Just check it that the value is gradually increasing and it is nearly approx 99.16. okay, so it is 99.20 nanofarad. Now, so that means it is nearly about 0.1 microfarad. Okay. Okay, the readings fluctuates since the value is very low. It's around 99.34 nanofarad. So now we will move on to our DC source part, that how to give the connection of the DC source to our breadboard. So this is our DC power source and this is the crocodile wires. You can see it. It is called crocodile because one side is a pin whose mouth is like crocodile mouth. Okay. And the other one here, these are the cylindrical inputs which we insert in this DC power source. These two ports we insert in the output ports of these DC power source. This I am inserting this first pin. This is one is for positive one and this black one is for negative one. Now what we do insert these two crocodile pins wire in the breadboard. Here it is the breadboard. Okay. After doing the connections, we insert the wire, okay, in the breadboard and we do switch on our power source. I am currently not switching it on because I haven't made any circuit. Okay. So when I would make a circuit, I would switch it on and I would change the values of the voltages by the help of this coarse one or the fine one. And this one, these two ports are for the first output part, the second output part. These two are the output pins, and for the third output part, these three are the output pins. So after doing a connection, what we do, we firstly check the connection of the breadboard and then afterwards we add the power source to it and then we switch on our DC power source. For example, if you can see here, I am just switching it. So currently it is not giving any voltage. Okay, just check here. I have kept both of these wires very far apart so that these two will not touch each other. Okay. Now we could increase or decrease our voltage from the coarse button or fine button as already I have said. So that's all from our first experiment. Thank you.